Hello guys, and welcome back to some consistency. I've actually been kind of consistent-ish, but hopefully I can get this through and be consistent. But today I am doing something I've been wanting to do for a while. I am doing the power rankings of every NHL team, just from 32 to 1. I update it every day. I'll do it every week. And right now I didn't do it last week because there were barely any games, so I feel like I have enough information now to make a good enough power rankings for you guys. So far, this season has been full of many surprises that I would never have expected, but let's just get straight into it and start off with the countdown at number 32. Because at number 32, I actually have a surprise. At number 32, I have the Chicago Blackhawks. The Chicago Blackhawks have been just terrible. They're 0-4-1 is their current record right now. They're 0-5-1 now, 0-5-1, and they haven't won a single game. They just get blown out after blowout. Fleury's looked terrible. Seth Jones is already not looking like he's worth the contract. But Chicago fans are lucky because they get to have him for a long time from this point, which really sucks for them. But Chicago's just really surprised me in how bad they've been. Like, I just don't know what happened. There's a lot of guys who should be scoring but aren't. And everything that could go wrong for Chicago has. So 32, they just haven't won. They haven't led a game at all at any point. That's shocking. How they've played 6 games and they broke a record, I think. I don't know if I already said this, but broke a record for not leading in the start of a season, which right now is 6 games. So good job to Chicago. But yeah, at number 31, a less surprising result, I have the Arizona Coyotes. The Arizona Coyotes, they came into the season, they were expected to be bad. And they are bad. There's really not much to say with them. They're 0-4-1. They don't look good. They look like they're barely going to win any games this season. Actually, Chicago looks worse than them, which is why I have them below. But yeah, Arizona is at least expected to be bad, and they have been bad. So Arizona kind of makes sense for where they are. But moving on to number 30. Number 30, on the power rankings, I have the Montreal Canadiens. The Montreal Canadiens are currently 1-5. Montreal had a horrible 5-game losing streak, a rough start to the season. They still are having a rough start to the season, but they ended up beating Detroit 6-1 last night, or a couple nights ago, finally ending that horrible streak they were on. Just another thing, like Chicago, nothing's going right. They can't score. Obviously, losing Shea Weber hurts. Obviously, Price being out hurts, but I still think that just a lot of things that could go wrong have, and Caulfield isn't looking like taking that step forward. Suzuki hasn't been good, and he just signed that huge contract. Everything is just not good for them right now. The only guy who has looked good actually is Drouin, who's looking like he's bouncing back, but they just can't score. I don't know what it is. Their offense sucks, other than obviously last game, but I expect them to be up higher next week. I expect them to dig out of this hole to an extent. I never saw them as a playoff team. I saw them being competitive, though, which they definitely have not been thus far. At number 29, I have the Seattle Kraken. The Seattle Kraken are currently 1-4-1. They looked like they were going to be good sort of at the start, good-ish. And then everything's just sort of fallen apart. Notes I have, they have Grubauer has just not played good at all. Grubauer has had great stats, and he's always played on great teams. But now that he's playing on Seattle on this expansion team, and I've seen 2 games, and in those 2 games, he definitely also didn't look good. But Grubauer hasn't looked good, and it looks like Vegas might have just been a one-off, Because Seattle is looking like what an expansion team's supposed to look like. But Vegas didn't. So I guess, Seattle's just back to normal. But at 28, speaking of teams that are looking like expansion teams, Vegas appears to be looking like an expansion team with a 1-4 record. I feel like it's not harsh to have Vegas look like this low. They've lost 4 games in a row. They have not been good at all. The only game they beat is a team below them right now, which is Seattle. Vegas obviously has injuries. They just placed Pacioretty on the LTIR. Mark Stone's out for a while. Things are not going good for this team. And Vegas, they should be able to pull themselves out of it, but they're going to be missing these players for a while, and Martinez is hurt as well. There's a lot of things going wrong for them right now. And I hope to see them get better, but whether it will happen, I'm sure they'll get better, but I don't know how. They should be a playoff team still, right? It's too early to count them out. I still think that they will make the playoffs. Just a slow start for sure. They need Stone and Pacioretty back, though. At number 27, I had the LA Kings. The LA Kings, like I said, beat Vegas. They beat Vegas to start the season. One of the reasons I have them ahead of Vegas is the head-to-head thing, but Vegas also lost the Islanders yesterday, which caused me to move them down as well. But LA had looked like they were going to be good off the start and sort of just hit a halt and slowed down. Byfield got injured. Doughty's injured. So they're dealing with a couple of injuries. But LA, they just have not looked like amazing. I mean, maybe they could get out of it. One guy who has looked amazing is Anze Kopitar. Has been amazing. Some people say it's because I've heard this is that Philip Denault is taking away the defensive capability, the defensive need that Kopitar had. Like Philip Denault's covering all that because obviously he's amazing defensively. So Kopitar gets to thrive more offensively. But hey, either way, Kopitar's playing great. The Kings are not playing that great, hence why I have them at 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27th on the power rankings. At 26, a team that just beat Minnesota yesterday 5-2. I have the Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators, I actually had a couple spots lower. They're in my bottom 5. They moved up after a few teams lost and they won. It sort of caused them to move up a bit. But right now they're 2-4. And really, let's be honest, like how Nashville's done this year does not shock anyone. They're lacking offense. Roman Yossi's having an absolute fire start, but they're lacking the offense. And just that offense is, like, that's it, really. Like, it's about expected where they are. I predicted them to be 7th. They're looking like a team that's in 7th. They could compete. They are competing, but I just don't see them as a playoff team. They're not playing like it. And yeah, they're hoping. Johansson and Duchesne have had missed starts, so we'll see. At number 25, the young team. 2-3 on the year, I have the Ottawa Senators. Ottawa obviously signed Brady Tkachuk to that massive contract. Still don't think I would have signed him for that much at that term. He hasn't been. I haven't watched many Ottawa games, but the points aren't showing for a guy who's getting paid however much, $8.2 million. Like, that's not $8.2 million in points. Better hope he gets over 40 this year, right? But yeah, overall, our young guys, they just aren't, like, getting off to fast starts. They're off to a pretty slow start, most of them. There are some guys off to good starts. Off the top of my head, I don't know who I can think of right now, but, you know, overall, Ottawa, they're about where they should be. They're not going to be a playoff team this year, not yet. Maybe next year, but I don't think they're quite there yet. At number 24, one you guys may see that I have too low. I don't think so. I think they'll move up a lot coming up the next couple weeks. Like, they will move up a lot. But right now, I have the Colorado Avalanche. They are 1-4 on the year. They obviously won the President's Trophy last year, but Kemper hasn't looked amazing. He's not looking like he's bouncing back a lot. Makar obviously had that really slow start. And they've been dealing with some injuries on their top line and stuff. Bowen Byram does look great, though. And although it's not 1-4. They have a 2-3 record. Sorry, 2-3. But although they do have a 2-3 record, they've been playing tough teams like Florida, Tampa, who they won in a shootout, so they basically tied. They've just been playing a lot of teams that I look and they are at the top of the power rankings right now. But Colorado, I expect them to move up. They could be up like a whole, like, next page, I guess. Next time you could see them from like 8 to 16 range. Who knows? Who knows? Depends on how this week goes. At 23, I have the Anaheim Ducks. The Anaheim Ducks are doing a really good job of being competitive in games all the time. One thing I do have to say, though, is where did Troy Terry come from? Because he is absolutely lighting it up. And Jamie Drysdale looks really good as well. Those two guys look really good. Shattenkirk looks like he's revisited who he once was. The only thing I can say is Zegras has been off to a slow start, but I'd expect him to pick it up. Anaheim is just a young team. They are getting better. They're definitely not a playoff team yet, but I'd expect them to see them competing as soon as next year. But this week, they have been competing in a lot of games. Actually, I went to the Oilers-Anaheim game, and the Anaheim Ducks really played good that game. They really stayed competitive the whole game, and I'd expect that throughout the whole year. At number 22, a team off to a bit of a slow start and a weird start. Very inconsistent. The Winnipeg Jets. Like I said, very inconsistent. One day, Hellebuck's great. The next day, he sucks. Let's be honest, he is off to a slow start. Winnipeg is just like... Pierre-Luc Dubois looks like he's back, so that's good. Pierre-Luc Dubois looks like he's great, but the defense definitely needs to tighten up. The Hellllo needs to play better. But overall, they're 2-2-1, so it's not terrible, but they definitely need to improve. Yeah, not much to say there. Winnipeg at 22. At 21, a team that at the start of the year, I think I had around 8th, 9th, 10th-ish, and now they've dropped down to 21, I have them, is the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs have really disappointed me so far in what they've been able to accomplish, with Matthews and Marner not producing, and that loss yesterday was horrific against, I think it was yesterday, or it might have been 2 days ago, but 7-1 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins in, that's just horrible. And they didn't have Malkin, Crosby, Rust, Letang, and I forget the other guy. They were missing 5-star players. 5. And Toronto couldn't even, it wasn't even a close game. This is a team that's, missing everybody. And yet Toronto still manages to lose 7-1. I don't know how they did it. Their record's 2-3-1, so it's not over. There's no need to panic, but man, they need to fix something because Marner's not producing, Matthews not producing. Things have just not been going well for Toronto to start the year. At number 20, a team I expect to move up a lot, the Islanders. The Islanders have been playing really good. Obviously, they shut out the Coyotes, which is no surprise. And then they shut out the Vegas Golden Knights. But Sorokin has looked great throughout the year. He had a little bit of a rough first couple games, but he's looked great after that. Obviously, 2 back-to-back shutouts. A few players off to slow starts like Barzal. But yeah, they really look like they're back and playing their style under Barry Trotz. So we'll see after that Vegas win and that Coyotes win. I feel like after this huge, long road trip that they've been on, we'll see how they end up playing. But if they can even head home with a decent record, they'll be fine. At number 19, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Tampa Bay Lightning have been off to a slow start considering that they're the Tampa Bay Lightning. Looking at their lineup, they might not be as good as I thought they once were. Especially now that Kucherov's out. They can't afford to lose Kucherov like they could last year. Tampa Bay has been very inconsistent with goals and goals against, sort of like Winnipeg. But they, one game they win 7-6, the next one they win 2-1. They lose, they tie Colorado, but Vasilevsky hasn't looked like Vasilevsky. A lot of the defense has looked more suspect than last year, and I think missing that third line hurts more than we thought it would. But Tampa, overall, I still think that they will bounce back from this. It's not even like a rough start, it's just a rough start considering Tampa's standards. But I expect them to move up in following weeks. At number 18, a team that's done better than I suspected in the Detroit Red Wings. And let me just say that Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider look like studs. Moritz Seider, 5 assists in 6 games. Lucas Raymond, I believe, 4 goals and 3 assists in 6 games. Both these guys are playing extremely well and better than I think I could have imagined that they are. And Nedeljkovic, he's been solid. He hasn't played bad, I don't think. He had one really bad game against Tampa, obviously. But, you could argue that a lot of those were one-timers and he couldn't have stopped those. But although he has an .897 save percentage, I feel like he's been better than that because that one game sunk his save percentage a lot. But Detroit, they've looked good to start the season. I don't think this is sustainable throughout the season. But after beating Chicago 6-3 last night, their record, 3-2-1, not bad at all. And at number 17, another team that's moved up a bit, really a wild card, is the Vancouver Canucks. Such a wild card team. From one week to the next, I really don't know what to expect from them. Right now they're 3-2-1. They just won their last 2 games. They beat Seattle and they beat Chicago. Both teams who are really struggling and are in the bottom 4 of my power rankings. But, they are winning the games they needed to win. They needed those 2 wins, and they got them. Vancouver, Connor Garland's looking amazing right now. Connor Garland looks like I think he's probably their best offensive player right now. Quinn Hughes is getting points. Thatcher Demko's looking like a stud. But if they can keep up the play over the last couple games, and I don't know who they play next, but if they can keep winning their next couple games and show that this is more consistent, because with Vancouver, you've just never really known. But if they can be more consistently well, then they could definitely find themselves higher. At number 16, the New Jersey Devils. New Jersey is a team that I expect to drop. I feel like their 3-1 record is a little bit higher than it should be. They beat Buffalo barely. and Jack Hughes got hurt, which really sucks for them. But a lot of players like Nico Hischier are off to slow starts. But Hamilton, I don't know how he's looked, honestly. I haven't seen many of the games. But I feel like that 3-1 record is a little high, you know? Sorry, I just keep getting interrupted by, like, stuff happening in my house. But sorry, I'm back. New Jersey? Yeah, New Jersey at 16. I'm going to move on. I don't know where I was. I'm going to move on to 15, which is the Dallas Stars. Now, one thing carrying over from last year to this year is Dallas still has a lack of scoring in all their games. Dallas, they can't seem to score, obviously, and they have so many injury problems still. Robertson is still out. Klingberg's coming back tonight, but they still have to deal with so many injury problems. One good thing I do have to say about them, though, is Holtby has looked absolutely amazing for Dallas. Holtby's been lights out, so that's one gleaming thing for the Dallas Stars. But overall, with a 3-2 record, that's not too shabby. As much as they've lacked scoring, Holtby's been able to bail them out. So 3-2, not bad. I really could see them going either way on this power rankings. I have no idea what to expect from Dallas. Sort of a wild card. At 14, a team that you might think I have a little bit too high. I don't think so, because honestly, they're off to a good start. It's the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo right now is 3-1-1. Sure, the teams they beat aren't good, but that doesn't matter. It's 3-1-1. Nobody expected Buffalo to do this, and I feel like 14 is fair. Just above middle of the league. They could definitely go down. They play Tampa tonight. We could see how that goes. But Buffalo has just really surprised me. And a lot of players have come out and put effort in. Like the goaltendings look good. Okposo is apparently back to being a good player, although he'll never live up to that $6 million contract. He's looked good. So Buffalo's just really surprised me so far. I don't expect them to be in the playoff team. I don't expect them to be competing for a playoff spot at all. I think it's just a hot start, and when they get to the real teams like they do tonight in Tampa, things will definitely go downhill. But hey, if they prove me wrong, I love Buffalo, my second favorite team behind the Oilers. So I hope they do good, but I just still don't see them as a playoff team. At number 13, another team I think I have high, but whatever. It's the Calgary Flames. Calgary started off 2-1-1. They had a rough first 2 games, a good second 2 games. They beat Detroit 3-0. Markstrom looked really good. Then they beat Washington in overtime 4-3. They've looked good recently. Sean Monahan obviously still not looking good, but overall, in Lindholm looks like a stud. So there's just some things really clicking in Calgary. Who knows? Maybe they'll have a bounce back here. They've been waiting for it since. I don't think they'll reach that second in the conference level, but I could see them bouncing back and making the playoffs, especially in a weak division like the Pacific. But Calgary off to a solid-ish start. At number 12, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets. Columbus, I expect to drop throughout the season, but hey, let's be honest, their season's been impressive themselves. And even before the season, you could look at their roster and be like, this team isn't as bad as everybody has it. It's just their division is so difficult that even if they have a okay season, 500 record, I still think they'd finish last just because of how good that division is. But Columbus right now, Laine is Patrick Laine again, it appears, and Merzlikins has been very good, and a lot of things are just working on Columbus. Voracek, it's they look good. They look good, and Werenski's been good. So unlike Seth Jones on Chicago, like I said earlier, was on for, I believe, every 5-on-5 goal in the Detroit Red Wings game. So, just get him for $9.5 million for whatever 8 years. Chicago, have fun. But this isn't about Chicago. Columbus, definitely a very solid start and has surprised me, as right now they have, I believe, a 3-2 record. At number 11, I have the Philadelphia Flyers. Sorry, I just paused there a second. I got confused with what my stuff said. So Philadelphia is kind of weird because their goaltending confuses me. Martin Jones played great in the game he played, and Carter Hart is definitely playing better than last year. Farabee has 6 points in 3 games, so he's off to an absolutely ridiculous start. Looks like a good pick for the Flyers, but they're at 2-1-1 right now, and they beat Boston, and they didn't beat Boston, they beat Boston. They took the spoon and hit them because they absolutely messed them up. But Philly, I have high hopes for a minute. Sorry, just a reference to the song. But no, Philly, they had a good start. Minnesota. Minnesota is different, is weird, because Minnesota is 4-1, yes. Every single game they've been in, they have had to come back. They've been behind in all 5 games. Obviously, they've won 4 of them. They won their first 4. And these games, though, what worries me, I know Minnesota looks good and everything, but what worries me is that these teams that they're barely beating are not amazing teams. Like Anaheim. What's another example? The Kings, I think they played. Don't put me on that. I don't know. Just like the Jets. The Jets are actually probably good, but they've off to a slower start. But Minnesota is just like barely edging out these teams. But hey, at the end of the day, it's like a win's a win, right? So Minnesota at 10, I feel, is fair. We'll see where they go from here. But no, they haven't had any like convincing wins. But coming back is a good thing in itself, right? Boston. At number 9, I have Boston. Said it before I even put this number, but Boston is number 9. Boston has looked really good to start the season. They're 3-1. They beat Buffalo, and at that point I was a little wondering what's going on, but then they beat San Jose, which was an impressive win. And San Jose's look really good, let me say too. Notice you haven't seen them on the power rankings yet. But Boston's look really good. The perfection line looks perfect as usual. And there's really not much to say about Boston. The goaltending, other than, I believe, who had that horrible game? Was it Swayman? Swayman had a rough game. But even then, like, he had a good game and a terrible game. So, I don't know. Overall, the goaltending's looked fine. Boston's offenses look good. So, Boston is at number 9. At number 8, the other New York team, I have the Rangers. Rangers are off to a great start, something they've actually struggled with the last few years. The Rangers have been a team that just picks it up too late. They start playing really good, but just too late to make the playoffs. Just missed the last 2 years. But this year they're off to a 4-1-1 start. And let me tell you that Igor Shesterkin has looked amazing and is the reason that they're out to the 4-1-1 start. Shesterkin is just lights out. Just like probably a top 3 goalie in the league, honestly, maybe this year. He's just been amazing and has carried this Rangers team on his back to these wins. But hey, 4-1-1, that's pretty good. And it's just the other teams ahead of him I think have been better. But Rangers, I really like the Rangers. I think they're a young and upcoming team. Kakko is coming back from injury, a minor injury, and Lafreniere's looked okay. But we'll see what happens from here. At number 7, I actually had them one spot higher because the team at 6, I'll get to this later, whatever. At number 7, I have the San Jose Sharks. The San Jose Sharks have really surprised me. Let's be honest. Nobody saw San Jose playing like this coming. Nobody did. And it could have to do with the whole thing that, like, Evander Kane is finally, like, out of the team. Maybe that whole situation just relieves them. But, like, Carlson looks like Carlson. Burns looks like Burns. Timo Meyer's playing great. They're getting solid goaltending, and you never know. Maybe out of nowhere they just have a bounce-back season. Even with the, I guess it's not really an old core anymore, but who knows? Like, maybe they just have a bounce-back season out of nowhere. Obviously, Aiden Hill played terrible against Boston. It wasn't terrible. There were some good shots, but still, 600 save percentage ain't that good or whatever he had. But anyway, that's besides the point. San Jose really surprising me this season. Really surprised. I bet you nobody had him here. I'll be shocked. Unless you have proof, I don't believe you that you had San Jose playing good. But anyway, San Jose at 7, well deserved. At number 6, now I'll say this team passed Tampa yesterday after Tampa lost, and they won an impressive way against Toronto. Yep, you know who it is. It's Pittsburgh. Without their 5 debatably best players, they not best players, but like they still won without Jeff Carter, Chris Letang, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Brian Rust. All those guys missing, and they kill Toronto, absolutely murder them. And I was watching Steve Dangle, and he's like, oh, with like, that's a power play unit. That's a first power play unit that they didn't have, that they still killed Toronto with. So Pittsburgh, as they usually do, without any of their star players, still beating teams. So it's not just Toronto. It's other teams that are falling to Pittsburgh. It's not just like Pittsburgh. They just have that winning style. They just know how to win, and they're really showing it because they're missing everybody and they're still winning. So I don't know what to tell you. I really thought Pittsburgh was gonna miss the playoffs this year, but yet again, they don't even have half their team and they're still winning. So I don't know. Every year I say, oh, they're gonna miss. Nope. I mean, who knows? Long year, long season, 82 games. At number 5, I have the Washington Capitals. Washington Capitals. All I have to say is Alex Ovechkin. 5 games, 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points, and man, he's making it look like he is gonna pass Gretzky. But Washington as a team has just looked good. They have not lost in regulation yet, just like the Penguins also haven't lost in regulation yet. But the Capitals have just I had them at 4th in the division. I wouldn't say they surprised me, but they've been playing really good. And Kuznetsov also really clicking on that first line. But yeah, the Capitals at number 5. At number 4, the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina is 4-0-0. They've been beating good opponents. They've been murdering good opponents. And by murdering, I mean 6-3 Islanders, who are a defensive team. They beat Montreal, but that's no surprise. Montreal's been trash. But Carolina, Kotkaniemi's looked okay. A goal, assist in 2 games. Aho, Svechnikov, Trocheck, all these guys playing amazing. Everything's looking how it should. And man, Freddie Anderson is apparently in his prime again because he's been playing great over the first few games. Carolina obviously still undefeated, and I think 4 is fair. At number 3, on a team that's actually been murdering their opponents, in St. Louis, because St. Louis is such an offensive beast. I don't know how long they can keep this up, but they are a offensive beast. They just keep pummeling teams, especially the Kings got killed, and I think that might be 2 times, I'm not sure. But they play the Kings again tonight, I think, actually. And I expect the Blues to win again. The Blues are just on such an offensive tear right now. And Buchnevich got suspended for headbutting something, which is something you don't see very often. But Blues have looked very good, and Jordan Kyrou has looked amazing. And everything, just that offense is clicking so well. I don't know how many points Brendan Saad has had. I don't think I've seen his name much. I don't know. I'll look at it after. At number 2, my favorite team. I'm so happy to see them succeeding like this. The Oilers. It's so nice to see the Oilers get off to a good start like this. 5-0 right now. Undefeated. And just all I have to say is that offense is elite right now. The top 6, I should say, is elite. The top 9, Cassian, Fogle, Hyman, all the new additions, not Cassian's not a new addition, obviously, but all the new additions look great. Keith and Cece, as much as I hate those moves, Keith's looked better than expected. Cece has looked better than I expected. All these guys are just playing well. And McDavid is on pace for 213 points right now. Draisaitl's on pace for 180. Do I think they'll hit that? No. But, you can't doubt McDavid. You can never doubt McDavid. And I could definitely see Draisaitl getting plus 150 points in an 82-game season. Because Draisaitl's underrated still. And no, stop. It's not because of McDavid. And yeah, I know. that being on the Oilers definitely helps his numbers, don't get me wrong. But you have to watch the games and understand that he's an elite player. And I think probably the second best player. Maybe McKinnon. But, I think Draisaitl's the second best player. Year after year, second in scoring. At number 1, no surprise here. The Edmonton's 5-0. They've beaten teams that they should beat. Florida's 5-0, and they're beating teams that are really good. Florida beating, like I said, really good teams, 5-0. Bobrovsky, everything is good. Bobrovsky looks like he's back. Bennett's scoring at a good pace. Anton Lundell looks like he is a Calder candidate right now, but yeah, everything looks good. And that's it for this video. So thank you for watching these power rankings. This is the first one, week 1. And all my notifications, if you want to know when it is, Brady Tkachuk just scored against the Capitals. So sorry for dissing you earlier, Brady, on things saying that you weren't scoring a lot. But hey, thank you guys for watching. And I hope to see you guys next time, because this was the first power rankings, week 1. So see you next video.